Welcome in today's podcast. The politics teacher and his students talk about social media. I'm joined today by Liam Ed, Piara Power, and Carter Fenwick. I'll get your name right, Piara. Social media have grown rapidly and obviously incredibly significant now in terms of every area of life, but politics too. And there is concern about whether that role that they play has become out of control and whether we do need stricter regulation and controls over the way that social media operate. So, are they liberating? Are they democratic, or are they dangerous and destabilizing? Just kick it off, really, for us, a quick response. We've heard a lot recently about the ban in Australia on the social media for 16-year-olds. Do you agree? A good idea or not?
Well, I'd say the ban of social media for 16 and unders is certainly government overreach. That'd be my starting statement on that.
Okay.
Okay, but um in what terms government overreach though? Like I understand leaving things up to the parents, but if social media is overwhelmingly, bad for young people, it's bad for the mental health, it's bad for the way they think, um, do you not think it's somewhat necessary? Especially when you're looking at all the cases of young people that are harming themselves or harming others based off things that they found on social media. Do you not think it has gotten to a point where the government should step in?
Government should step in, but banning it's a step too far. Regulations are necessary, banning it's too much.
Okay, and what regulations would you suggest?
The thing with social media is it all works on algorithms. Algorithms designed to keep you on the social media, so they keep you looking at the ads they have on there. What I think governments should do is they should force social media companies to alter their algorithms to be more positive in a way.
Well, isn't that
So
arguably worse? Like, I'm not saying, obviously they shouldn't allow content that is harmful, but isn't it like purposely altering it to be more positive? Isn't the government doing that as
no,
well? Like, isn't that
it
also
won't it
overreach?
won't be like strictly more positive, but the thing is, social media algorithms. I watched a video on this morning.
Mm.
You can, on average, you can enter an echo chamber on social media platforms in anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. If you enter a particularly negative echo chamber, that can then impact your mental health. So what the government should do is they should force social media algorithms to deliver a wider variation of views and ideas and such through the posts that they recommend people. It shouldn't just be all the same thing.
Mm. But then I suppose, like, have you seen people have been I've been looking at it on Australia's social media, look what people have been saying about it and such, and I have seen people complain that hordes of teenagers are gathering outside and scaring the locals, which is just them going outside to hang out, like just how they used to. Do you not think just the fact of social media being banned and then teenagers being, going outside and actually interacting with one another, do you not think that's a positive overall?
Yeah, the way, well, getting teenagers out and interacting on social media, that is a good thing, but there are lots of teenagers who can't interact with each other without social media. It's like I have a load of friends that I can only speak to on social media because they're too lazy to leave their houses.
Hmm.
So like, if I was a 16-year-old and social media was just banned tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to speak to those friends anymore.
Could you not get
So
the
I
number?
agree. You're right. I could do that actually.
Hmm. I'll
Uh,
tell you
so
what,
do we
I don't think
do we
people are
agree?
I'm going to
Do we
bring in
agree then?
Piara. Piara's
Do we
been
agree?
waiting patiently.
No, I don't need you to bring me in, mate. You should know that right now. But do
All
we
right.
agree that social media is harmful to to the general population, to people who overuse it? It draws people in a way that many of us can't resist. The algorithms are designed to keep us logged on, and as part of that, it's causing a lot of harm to young people, to, I mean, the ban isn't
Yeah.
for 16-year-olds, Ian. It's for under 16-year-olds,
I
right?
said under 16-year-olds.
And so
I
what we're
think.
trying to do there is protect people whose minds are still growing. Your brain is still developing at 16, 18, probably to 21 or something. And isn't it better to protect growing minds from the harms, the psychological harms that social media is bringing to it? There's been a whole series of proven cases where young teenage girls in particular have been harmed by what they see on Instagram because of the kind of perfection driven body image that it drives people. Um, Quite frankly, this idea that to be beautiful and young is the ideal, whereas we all know that just to be human and real is the ideal, right? So there's a whole series of problems that social media has escalated in our society. It keeps us addicted, damages young minds, and then monetizes that addiction and that attention for commercial ends. So much so now that the social media companies, Meta, TikTok, Insta, as part of Meta, Twitter, are some of the biggest companies in the world, right? So I think there's a whole series of issues, some of which will be addressed by keeping young people away from it, but others we need to discuss because they are damaging the infrastructure of our societies, the social infrastructure of our societies.
Yeah, I'd agree
Yeah.
in its current form, social media is harmful, but I think banning it outright should be the last resort.
But
I'd
it's
rather see the politicians try and reform it, try and understand it instead of just completely banning it.
I understand where you're coming from to an extent, but it's like we have age restrictions on films, on TV shows, there's no children shouldn't be exposed to the content that they are exposed to online, like in any way. Like I remember being online and seeing like beheading videos when I was like 13. And that's just something people that young shouldn't see. It's really bad for them. But then, it's just it's overall it's harm reduction. And I think there's nothing but positives that can come from that.
I think all the research, doesn't it? Everything from the World Health Organization to national level, international level research tells us that it's harmful to kids, and kids understand that it's harmful, but they can't move away from it. And banning it is a form of regulation because there's nothing else really that's going to work. And I think we all agree with that. For adults, it's different. We need to understand that we're getting involved in something that we are responsible for, sure. And we want to regulate, particularly those platforms that allow harmful content for everybody, whether it's, the way in which they, as Twitter did recently, the way in which they treat women and the intersection of AI and social media and everything that's throwing up. But for young people, we need to protect their young minds. I think we all agree with that. I'm a parent of a 10-year-old girl, and I would say that one of the biggest challenges I have right now, will have, I think, throughout her teens, is trying to get her away from screens because they are so addictive. And you can see her. She loves reading books, but at the same time, she loves screens almost more because of the alluring nature of it, because of the alluring nature of the content. It's highly addictive, and I think we have to protect them. And I would say there are no parents I've met with children who are teenagers or my daughter's age who disagree with the idea of a ban. Most parents say to protect our children, that's what we have to do.
Is there any risk of it driving it underground and into more dangerous areas if there's an outright ban like this?
Well, where else could you take it in terms of danger? I mean, let's give the example that's often given of smoking, say, right? I mean, the UK has been trying to drive people away from smoking through measures that are short of an ultimate ban, because you can't. It'll be difficult to ban smoking. The tobacco companies are too powerful. So what we now do is price it out of the range of people. So now it's very rare to see someone walking down a British street smoking a cigarette, wherever you are. Used to be very common. Now, teenagers, when they were told you can't smoke until you, was it 18 or 16, they used to sort of illicitly buy cigarettes, steal them, get their older mates to buy them. But in the end, we knew that was happening and it was still controlled. We
Yeah.
knew actually that some of them are going to get addicted as a result of that, but we were also quite comfortable that you can't control everything that everybody does. Young people are always going to try and find a way around it. But as long as we're moving in the right direction in terms of prohibition of use of tobacco, understanding the damage that it does to our society, to the health impact that it has, and therefore the impact on the NHS and public expenditure, then we're moving in the right direction. And now I think we are virtually a smoke-free country in terms of cigarette smoking. Vaping, that's slightly different, and the risks are identified to do with that are different. But I would say that's a good parallel. People
Mhm.
will try to get onto social media if they're banned from it, but that will be a marginal group of people. It won't have the same impact as if it's just free and open.
I mean, I think one thing that looking at the Australian experiment, which they're saying is still in its infancy, isn't it? That the long-term analysis is going to take time. But what they're saying is that it's putting the onus on the providers that they need to get their act together. And it's not punishing parents and children, which I think is a good approach in Australia. That they're not blaming parents and children, they're trying to protect them and saying that the companies have the responsibility now, in the same way that the sellers of, or the manufacturers of tobacco and the sellers of tobacco have the responsibility to get their house in order, which I think is a positive measure.
Well, they didn't get the house in order, did they? We priced them out
Well,
of the
they
market.
didn't, but okay, that no, that's true. But I suppose in terms of if you talk about, the age restrictions on tobacco, then the onus is on, a bit like with drinking, the onus is on people to check ages and verify ages, and the same with the companies, that they need to have some good system in place for age verification.
Yeah, I think we all agree age gating is a good thing. It needs to be verified, and the onus is on the suppliers, in this case, the social media companies, right? I've done quite a lot of work around the need to reform social media companies and their output, the safety debates around social media, and it's really very difficult. Now, the EU, Germany, and the UK have very strong legislation which sanctions social media companies for posts, particularly posts that are abusive, that are, encouraging terrorism, that are encouraging um, the manipulation of young people. But it's really hard to do that. The regulators just can't keep up. They don't have the resources, don't have the expertise. And so I had a police officer, a senior police officer yesterday describing how the radicalization of young men is now being driven by social media usage. All right, people are you watch one video or you look at one post, and then the algorithms hook onto that and then start feeding you lots more of the same thing until you think that's a normalized form of behavior, and that is your world then. And that's the problem, isn't it? They create a worldview, a perspective on the world, which is distorted, and that's the way in
Yeah,
which
the
manipulating
algorithms.
politics.
Yeah, the algorithms are the problem there. If algorithms were built to challenge viewpoints more, because when you like posts and stuff on apps such as Instagram, the algorithms will always give you more of what you want. That can that can create a very hostile algorithm for you, or an algorithm that isn't very good for you, that can give you these views.
Well, that's
If
the
there was a
whole.
way,
Sorry,
yeah,
that's
that's
the
the whole
whole point of
point.
them, though, because
Yeah,
it's to keep you
that's what I'm saying.
addicted.
Yeah, that's the whole point. They need you addicted, so you look at more things, therefore you look at more ads, therefore they make more money. What I'm saying is if the governments were able to pressure the companies into changing these algorithms that did not suit their own best interests, instead to suit the best interests of their users, which probably impossible, but let me dream, right? If they were able to change these, it would be a lot better if they were able
Yeah,
to
yeah, but
change
Carter,
these sort of algorithms.
sorry to cut you. And this is a Carter I've not seen before, who's sort of uh, appealing for humanity from a social media company. I mean, that's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? Because the legislation that we have has a sanction of fining those those social media companies. There's only a cluster of them. A proportion of their income derived from their activities in our country. So we're talking about tens of millions of pounds, if not hundreds of millions of pounds. But that doesn't seem to be enough for them to reform and to
Fines are
change the way
pittance.
they're operating.
The fine's pocket money to them. Tens of millions of pounds is nothing to Meta. It's nothing to
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
You fine them 50 times, £100 million each. That's not pittance. But you just can't keep track of it, though. You can't do it. You can't bring those actions. It's so difficult because when you're a government, you have standards to keep. You have standards of evidence to bring. You have to have a prosecution. It's not simply like running something in an informal way, which is what the social media companies are doing.
If it takes such a long time to find them just once, then find them for more every time.
What about?
So you agree then that fining is the way forward, and that's what our regulations say, what our laws say.
It's not working right now, but if they were fined for more, punished more harshly in general, then I think it would work eventually.
I don't think your argument stacks up. We've got good, strong legislation. It's not strong enough. It's not working, but you want to persuade them. How does that work?
Uh,
Can I take it to the UK then? I mean, I'm assuming that
Ian,
we
real quick,
think.
sorry.
There you go.
There's a discussion I want to bring real quick on the Australia side of it. Uh, I believe Australia has banned every social media, barring two platforms that I've heard of. The platforms I had they are not banning are Discord and Roblox. And I disagree with not banning those two on the grounds of child grooming. Discord and particularly Roblox is a large hub for grooming children. I think to not ban those two, if they're banning every other social media platform, it's a failure of due diligence on the Australian government.
I mean, I suppose I see where you're coming, but with Roblox, you can very, 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 very easily have so many parental controls on it. You can make it so they can't message anyone. I mean, and with Discord, you can use Discord in a way that you only have people you know added, and there's no
Yeah,
content
that's how
pushed
I use
towards
Discord.
you because there's no content pushed towards you. It's just about communication. I mean, I feel like grooming is going to be an issue on every sort of messaging app or anything, no matter what. Like, as much as we could ban kids off of it, they're gonna get groomed at school or groomed at. It's. I don't think that's a.
If we
I
ban
think
these
it.
platforms, they'll get groomed less.
I
Hang on, you're
suppose, yeah.
contradicting yourself. You said we shouldn't ban, and now you're saying they'll be
No,
groomed less.
I think if they're gonna ban it, they should commit. No half measures. If you're gonna ban it, ban everything.
Well, yeah, I
If
suppose
you're
that's more
not
like
gonna ban it,
gaming, though. Roblox and Discord is more geared towards gaming. But, anyways, I've wanted to jump in with, and I've been wanting to say, because I feel like we're focusing on the wrong thing here with social media. Um, I'm shocked that we haven't discussed like the manosphere yet, or the fact that we had the under 18 ban from pornography in the UK. What was it called? The Online Safety Act, yeah. Um, I think there's already been reports coming out that there has been lowered sexual violence towards women in the UK since that ban, which I think is phenomenal. It's massive. It shows how harmful the porn industry can be for women. Um, but I think I'm going to gear this question more towards Carter, purely because I feel like you're going to have the
I
most like different
I
opinions.
expect this. It's the
Yeah,
social
yeah. No,
media episode I've been pushing
do you
for.
think overall, in terms, and this is quite a thingy question, but in terms of women, like in terms of women's safety, do you think that the social media ban for under 16s and the Online Safety Act, do you think that that's good for women's safety, or do you think it don't really make a difference?
Right now, before I say this, I want no interruptions. Looking at Piara, I want no interruptions. My answer is yeah, it is better. But my issue with banning it is purely on a civil liberties basis. Morally, I have no objections. It's just I value civil liberties to the point where I don't appreciate an all-out ban of social media for under 16s. But morally, I have no objections.
Okay, what civil liberties are being impeded by people being exposed to less pornography and therefore having less violent or sexual violence towards women?
I hate when you ask me questions.
Like,
give me
Area
a sec
take
to think.
probing questions.
Carter in the
You're
dock.
actually examining his position. My God.
Yeah, how dare you?
Ideology over common sense.
Look, the issue is,
Ideology.
like, my issue is, I've spent a lot of my time on the internet. One thing about the internet is it's sort of like the Wild West in the sense that everything's anonymous and you can kind of just do whatever you want. I appreciate that about the internet. It's bad, but just having grown up like partly on the internet, it's something I appreciate.
So it's
What
a
sort of thing?
personal freedom.
I see the banning of social media or like, any regulations of it as a threat to that sort of thing. Like I despise the Online Safety Act because it makes me well, I haven't done it, but hypothetically it makes you put your face on stuff, and that's a threat to my online anonymity. I don't appreciate that.
Okay, I've got another question now. I think this can go to everyone. Because I just listening to Carter talk now, I feel like it's kind of made me think of it. Do you think like who we are like really affects who like our views on social media? Because for me, I view it as a lot more negative than Carter does, and I think a lot of it is because I'm a woman, and because I see the sexual violence side of it. I see all the misogyny. Do you think that who you are? Do you think like say the sort of privileges in societies transforms into social media and then carries on, and then that's maybe why Carter is so positive overall, and then I'm more negative.
Yeah. One thing about my social media use specifically is I never really step beyond my bounds. I don't put my face out there willingly. The only other than this, the only like my face you'll see on social media is my mate's Instagram posts. I don't post anything. I don't comment on things. I'm very much an observer of the internet that I'm shown through my algorithms. And that's definitely but my lack of participation's definitely led to me having a better view of it than I probably should. Because I don't see any of this sort of stuff. Obviously, as a white man, then and then that does warp my perspective. Like one thing I've noticed in particular is that Indian people get a lot of hatred on social media. That's something I've noticed, specifically Indian people. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine if I was Indian, I wouldn't like it as much, but I can't speak to that.
I think the answer to your question, Leo, is yes. We do carry our privileges into all areas of life, don't we? And
Yeah,
social
I would
lives.
agree with that completely. I think it is. It's something that if you're in a privileged position, you just don't appreciate the kind of experiences and well horror that many people experience, like Carter just mentioned, and like you've talked about with women. You have no idea unless you're actually within those groups.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
because
there's
my
a couple of things.
dad, oh, sorry,
Just
I
going
was
to make
gonna
a couple
say,
of. Go on.
you go. All right, I'll go. Just speaking on like my sort of perspective on social media and my privilege, my dad heavily monitored everything I do online until probably about 4 years ago. So I was 15, I had parental controls on my browser. And only a few years ago, I decided to download a different browser to get around those parental controls, which is probably a sort of, that probably sort of links to a point there, but I can't make that connection. I'm too stupid. But yeah, because my dad was so Orwellian over my own social media usage, I really haven't been like personally exposed. Like I've never seen a beheading online. That
Mm.
you know, partly because of my dad's influence over my online activity, but also because I don't want to see that. So I just scroll off if I get the hint of like, oh, this is gonna be a beheading. Because I think like a year or two ago, Instagram had a big mess up. People were just being shown like gore, people running onto train tracks and getting hit, beheadings, that sort of stuff. For like a day, the algorithm just messed up and loads of inappropriate content was on there. So I just didn't use Instagram that day. You go, Piara, sorry.
I mean, I was going to talk about some of the positives, and one of the positives is we had a discussion before, didn't we, about the number of people that are taking to Instagram, because it's harmful. It's harmful to certain categories of people, but it also allows a connection, right? You were talking about your grandparents, I think, Leah,
Mhm.
enjoying Instagram, and that's good to see. And there are people, there are people into whose lives you can have a window, as long as it's not a fake reality. They're not dressing it up. They're only just talking about the positives. That's good, and I think there are positives. There are a lot of Instagram doctors, Instagram physios, and
Mhm.
Instagram private trainers. It's really interesting. In that sense, getting a sense of what they're recommending. It also makes for a strange worldview, though, because I've got people my own age who are sending me all sorts of stuff from Instagram. Where you think, now, why don't you just Google it and work it out, right? People, excerpts from political speeches or the latest medical research, and it
My
does
friends
allow
have
them.
a go at me for that. I'm
It does.
always sending them stuff I see on Instagram, and they're telling me, "Carter, this is fake. Actually, fact check it."
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Piara, would you exercise some control though over social media in terms of adults? Because we haven't really talked, and just a quick one really in terms of a lot of concern about the way in which social media can have a big impact on public opinion
Yeah.
and misinform. So would that necessitate some control over social media in terms of adults?
Yeah, I don't actually think that the Online Safety Act covers political manipulation, does it? We've seen how Facebook was used willingly, it seems, by state actors, by Russians to manipulate, for example, or to have a role in the Brexit vote. We see, are told about the new demographics, and new information carriers that are going to mean that the UK election next time around is going to be decided by TikTok. Now that's quite scary, because what you get
Mm.
by the very nature of the medium is an abridged form of argument and debate and insight. And that abridging doesn't give you everything, and that's how you can be misinformed and carry and form opinions basis on the basis of a short video, 15 seconds, where you should be giving something a bit more attention and to be informed a bit better. It's a big danger, I think, and I have no doubt. I think Elon Musk has more or less declared this. The American government has more or less declared the way in which they will try to manipulate elections in Western Europe to reflect their own worldview. So we know that they will be supporting Nigel Farage because his politics are more in keeping with the MAGA crowd. Some of them, Elon Musk, will be championing and is championing Tommy Robinson and his form of extremism. We also know the AfD in Germany will be getting support, the Front National in France. So it will be the means through which the American government and the American right influence our elections. And they are quite capable of doing that. We don't have the regulations or just the public awareness to be able to counter that.
So we need to do something, don't we? Because at
They
the
do something
moment
very quick, and
it's skewed, it's heavily skewed, isn't it?
there's no ideas. We're in a mess. It's part of the political mess that we're in, I think.
Okay, I'm going to wind it up there. And what an interesting debate that was on the regulation and controls over social media. Thanks ever so much. Do we have a Fredo moment of the week? Anyone?
I do actually. Not so much as interesting or as fun as my usual ones, but I've been trying to lower my dairy intake recently. I've been trying to do my bit for the planet and consume less animal products, yada yada yada. And also, I just assumed naturally that dairy was much better. Oat milk was much better for you than dairy milk. I found out today that it's basically, after drinking it for the last few weeks, it's basically liquid hydrocarbons, and it's just like double the calories, and it's really bothered me. because I'm a big milk drinker, I have a good few like lattes a day, and then I'll have a cup of milk before bed. And I've realised that I have upped my calorie intake by maybe 1,000 to 2,000 in the last week or two because of how much milk I drink. And usually I have it all measured out. So not necessarily less bang for my buck, but more calories for my buck. Not happy about it.
Well, we're a bit guilty of that, aren't we, in Britain, I think, compared to countries that
That's the
have
problem with these woke
healthier.
alternatives to real food.
Right.
Hunt and
Well,
kill your own game.
on that note, thank you ever so much, everyone. Really enjoyed it. We were the politics teacher and his students talking about social media, and look forward to the next podcast.